Donald Trump had an absolutely disastrous day out on the campaign trail today, with people leaving his rallies early and his cognitive decline being demonstrated when he attempted to get into a garbage truck and slipped on national television. A garbage truck, mind you, that had his campaign's logo on it. Really just a perfect representation for him and his campaign at this point. But it was all made so much worse by the airing of the second night of Donald Trump's interview with Sean Hannity on Fox, which absolutely humiliated Donald Trump in a moment in which Hannity went out of his way to expose Trump's cognitive decline. And boy, does it have Donald Trump angry. We are going to get into all of that. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way, and it really means the world to me. Now let's get into this second part of Donald Trump's interview with Sean Hannity. It's got off to a weird start right here.
She's taken 2 days off in the last few days. I said, you know, you're getting down. I think it was down to we were down to 14 days, and she was taking days off all the time. And, you know, she only does, she'll do like one little event, and they don't get any people at their events. You know, they bus them in. I don't bus anybody. They bus them in. They don't get people. And when they leave, you saw Beyonce. They came in to see Beyonce. Beyonce didn't sing. They all left, and she's standing there making a speech. There was nobody there, and everybody was screaming and cursing because of what happened. Look.
So as I said in the beginning of this video, we saw Donald Trump's crowds leaving early today. So he is especially insecure about the huge crowds that Kamala Harris has had at her rallies. Of course, the other day we saw 75,000 people come to support Kamala Harris in Washington, D.C. Well, people are leaving Donald Trump's crowds as they increasingly get smaller. So he has to lie about Beyonce having people boo her at a Kamala Harris rally in Houston. It's all nonsense. It's all a bunch of complaints, which we see more of right here.
I think I know you well enough to see that you're having a lot of fun. There's a lot at stake, but I can tell that you are definitely having a good time. Am I wrong in my perception?
Not only are you right when you say that, when you say good time, it's hard to say I'm having a good time because, you know, yesterday I did 3 rallies. I did, you know,
But when you're in front of a crowd,
I've done 58 days in a row, no days off.
We saw the projection of Trump when talking about Kamala Harris's crowd size, but we also see the projection of Trump when he's complaining about how she's not working enough, she's not out on the campaign trail enough, and how he's saying, no, I'm not tired. Maybe I'm tired. I don't really like it. Maybe I do. He is fed up at this point. We know how unfit he is to be running for president. Of course, we also know how unfit he is to be president. Trump is really just melting down, which again, Sean Hannity showed on TV in just a little bit. But before we get into that, let's hear some of the verbal slip-ups that Donald Trump had in this interview.
And now we're going to make America great again. We're going to make it great again. And we have the formula. It's down pat. This country, we're going to have jobs. We're going to have countries pouring back into our country.
There are countries pouring into our country, whatever that means. Donald Trump, once again, forgetting how to speak. Like I said, it was not the best day for Donald Trump's cognitive state or his physical state, really, either. We are seeing an exhausted Trump completely collapse in the final days of this campaign, holding on to the past, holding on to his grievance, constantly complaining all the time. And speaking of holding on to the past, we see a lot of that right here.
We are going to have a country the likes of which, and we were getting there. We were very close. Look, I had the greatest economy in the history of our country. I met with 2 pollsters, McLaughlin and Fabrizio. They said, if George Washington came back from the dead and he brought along Abraham Lincoln as his vice president, they couldn't beat you, sir. And then 2 days later, we had the period of time where we had the COVID.
Trump says he'd beat Lincoln and Washington combined.
They said it. I mean, they said it. But
what is he talking about? The George Washington, Abraham Lincoln ticket couldn't beat him in 2020 because he was so unpopular with his first impeachment. I don't think Donald Trump, even pre-COVID, ever had an approval rating that was anywhere near 50%. Again, this is an insecure Donald Trump, knowing that he is lagging in the polls as of recently. We see lots of momentum for Kamala Harris, and that's why he's projecting so much, and that's why he's fear-mongering so much in this clip right here.
So in Mexico, which is a real threat to us, by the way, in 2 ways. They're killing hundreds of thousands of people by letting fentanyl, another thing, come through our border. we should stop it. I had it stopped. I had it very close to stopped. I had the strongest border in history. Now we have the worst border in the history of the world. I had the strongest border. The day you saw the chart, the day I left office, I had the strongest border in the history of our country. Now we have the worst border ever in the world. There's never been a border in the world where 21 million people were allowed to come across almost at one time. It's crazy what we're doing. But we're going to have a country that's going to be strong and respected again. We're going to have a country where the taxes are going down, where the quality of life is going up. We're going to have a country. They don't respect us. You know, it's interesting. I went to Abe of Japan, Shinzo. He was a great friend. He was assassinated. He was a great gentleman. I said, Shinzo, your deal with us is horrible. He said, I know you were going to come. I said, what do you mean? He said, I knew at some point you would come. For 25 years, nobody came. He said, no American ever came to renegotiate the deal. I knew you were going to do it. And I renegotiated the deal. And I was stuck with a bad deal to start off with.
He is just all over the place in that clip. He is clearly in cognitive decline. He is just rambling and just enraged. And he sounds so strange. But of course, today he looked even stranger. And we saw that clip of Donald Trump slipping, kind of stumbling over himself, trying to get into his garbage truck. And funny enough, Sean Hannity decided to play that clip on national television on Fox. And what he said about it was kind of interesting.
And treasure. And today in Wisconsin, take a look at that. This may go down as an iconic, epic moment that we will remember for a long time. Donald Trump.
That is how you know that Fox is a propaganda outlet. I don't know what part of Donald Trump almost collapsing was epic in a moment that we'll remember forever as he got into a garbage truck bearing his name, a great representation for his campaign. But sure, Hannity, try to spin that lie, try to spin that propaganda as best you can for Donald Trump. It certainly was not a great day, and especially because on the other side of the campaign trail, Kamala Harris was delivering her speech. She was not stumbling, and I want to take a look.
Because here's the thing, we know if he is elected on day one, Donald Trump would walk into that office with an enemies list. When I am elected, I will walk in with a to-do list. The top of my list is bringing down your cost of living. That will be my focus every single day as president. I will give a middle-class tax cut to 100 million Americans. Enact the first ever federal ban on price gouging on groceries. And fight to make sure that hardworking Americans can actually afford a place to live. If you are caring for an elderly parent, my plan will cover the cost of home care under Medicare. So seniors can get the help they need and the care they need to stay in their own homes. It's about dignity. It's about dignity. Which is why my plan will also lower the cost of child care. Cut taxes for small businesses and lower health care costs, because I believe health care should be a right and not just a privilege of those who can afford it.
Continuing to drive home such a devastating message for Donald Trump. And it is clear the contrast in this campaign. We have been talking about it ever since that Kamala Harris has gotten in the race. But I love this line, especially that she continues to use about the fact that Donald Trump has an enemies list and how she has a to-do list. I think it is a perfect representation. And what is really the most important part of this campaign? Which candidate is fighting for you? And we know what Donald Trump is doing. He is fighting to avoid prison. He is fighting for another big tax cut for his wealthy friends and, of course, himself. And he's fighting to help out Vladimir Putin. Kamala Harris is fighting for you. That is the contrast. That is the difference between past and future. That is also so perfectly put right here.
And we know we have an opportunity in this election to turn the page on a decade of Donald Trump trying to keep us divided and afraid of each other. That is who he is, but Pennsylvania, that is not who we are. And I know plenty of folks are just exhausted with it all and know that it is time to stop pointing fingers and to start locking arms. It is time. It is time for a new generation of leadership in America. And together with you, we will do this, and I am ready to offer that leadership as the next President of the United States of America.
We can move forward. We can turn the page. We can move past Donald Trump. Isn't that what we want? Don't we want a better country with a brighter future where we are not held down by him dividing us all the time, his constant fear-mongering, his constant anger? We see this Republican faux backlash at President Biden calling out Donald Trump and his MSG rally for what it was, complete garbage. He didn't say that of all the Trump supporters, but certainly those people pushing horribly racist attacks. And Donald Trump is always calling America at large garbage. So I don't know why MAGA's freaking out there, but they have a lot to freak out about. Of course, they just want to attack. And we saw Mike Johnson earlier today talking about attacking the ACA. Kamala Harris called him out for that right here.
And my plan will lower the cost of child care, cut taxes for small businesses, and lower health care costs, because I believe health care should be a right and not just a privilege of those who can afford it.
Kamala Harris is fighting for us. Donald Trump is fighting for himself and his rich friends. It couldn't be a clearer contrast, and it's one we will continue to talk about every single day on the show. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button. You can leave a like on this video, and if you stuck around to the end, you can drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.